You've probably heard the saying, you are your own worst critic. And it's true, right? We all tend to be harder on ourselves than we are on anyone else. But what if I told you that you have the power to change that? What if I told you that by simply changing the way you talk to yourself for just 3 days, you could start feeling more confident, more motivated, and more in control of your life? That's what we're going to dive into today. For the next few minutes, I want to show you how shifting the way you speak to yourself can completely transform your mindset and your emotions. It sounds simple, but trust me, this is one of the most powerful tools you can use to create lasting change in your life. We all face challenges. We all have moments of doubt, but it's not about avoiding those tough times. It's about how you respond to them. What if instead of criticizing yourself or doubting your abilities, you started speaking to yourself in a way that encouraged you, that built you up, and that reminded you of just how capable you really are? Today, I'll walk you through exactly what happens when you commit to talking to yourself in a positive and empowering way for 3 days. I'll explain the emotional shifts you'll experience, the changes you'll start to notice in your confidence and energy, and how you can make this practice a regular part of your life. So stay with me. I promise that by the end of this, you'll be excited to start this 3-day challenge and begin seeing the powerful changes that will come from it. Let's get into it. Number 1, recognize the influence of self-talk. When was the last time you truly listened to yourself? I'm not talking about what you say out loud. I mean the voice in your head. The voice that speaks to you all day, every day. That voice holds incredible power. It's with you when you wake up, when you make decisions, and even when you're lying in bed at night, thinking about your life. The way you talk to yourself determines everything. How you feel, what you do, and the results you get. If you've never thought about it before, let me tell you this. Your self-talk is shaping your destiny. Now, why does this matter so much? Because the words you use with yourself influence your emotions, and your emotions drive your actions. If you're constantly telling yourself, I'm not good enough, what do you think will happen? You'll feel defeated before you even start. You'll hesitate. You'll hold yourself back. On the other hand, if you say, I can figure this out, suddenly you're giving yourself a chance. That's the power of self-talk. It's either your greatest ally or your worst enemy. So the first step is awareness. You've got to recognize the role your inner dialogue plays in your life. Take a moment to think about it. What's the tone of your self-talk right now? Is it supportive or critical? Encouraging or discouraging? Do you build yourself up or do you tear yourself down? For the next 3 days, I want you to pay attention to this. Carry a small notebook if you have to. Write down some of the things you catch yourself saying. You'll be surprised at how often you might criticize yourself without even realizing it. Why did I mess that up? I'll never be as good as they are. I can't do this. These thoughts slip in so easily, but they chip away at your confidence, your potential, and your belief in yourself. Here's the thing. This kind of negative self-talk didn't start yesterday. It's something we pick up over time. Maybe someone said something to you years ago, and it stuck. Or maybe you've developed a habit of being hard on yourself. But here's the good news. Just as you've learned to talk to yourself in a negative way, you can learn to talk to yourself in a positive way. It starts with recognizing the pattern. Now, I want to share a little story with you. Years ago, I met someone who always seemed to be in a bad mood. No matter what was going on, they found something to complain about. One day, I asked them, what do you say to yourself when no one's listening? They paused, thought for a moment, and said, I guess I tell myself that nothing ever works out for me. And right there, I knew the problem wasn't the world around them. It was their own inner voice. You see, your self-talk creates a lens through which you see the world. If your self-talk is negative, you'll find negativity everywhere you look. But if you start to shift your self-talk to something positive, something constructive, you'll see opportunities instead of obstacles. You'll feel stronger. You'll take action instead of holding back. Here's what I want you to do. Start catching those negative thoughts. And when you catch one, don't let it slide by. Challenge it. If you catch yourself saying, I can't do this, ask yourself, why not? What's stopping me? Replace it with something better, like, I may not know how yet, but I can learn. This is about breaking old habits and building new ones. It's not going to happen overnight, but that's okay. Growth takes time. The important thing is that you start today. Start paying attention to the way you talk to yourself. Start treating yourself with the same respect and encouragement you'd give to a friend. And let me tell you this, it's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about being real with yourself and still choosing to speak with kindness and belief. It's okay to say, this is hard, but I'm figuring it out. Or I've made mistakes, but I'm learning. That's the kind of self-talk that moves you forward. So over the next 3 days, your job is simple. Listen, pay attention. Recognize the influence your self-talk has on your mood, your energy, and your actions. And when you catch yourself slipping into negativity, stop. Don't let that voice run the show. Instead, start speaking words that build you up. Say, I can do this. Say, I'm making progress every day. Say, I've got what it takes. And keep saying it until you believe it. By the end of these 3 days, you'll feel a shift. You'll notice a difference in how you approach challenges, how you see yourself, and how you show up in your life. And that's just the beginning. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 3 days, pay attention to your self-talk. Recognize its influence and start choosing words that help you, not hurt you. Because once you change the way you talk to yourself, you change everything. Number 2, understand the harm of negative thoughts. Now let's talk about something that can hold you back in ways you might not even realize. Negative thoughts. They creep in so quietly, don't they? They're like unwelcome guests that settle in your mind and start dictating how you see yourself, how you feel, and how you act. And the worst part is, most of the time, we let them stay. You see, negative thoughts don't just pop up out of nowhere. They're often the result of years of conditioning. Things people said to us, situations where we felt we failed, or moments where we doubted ourselves. And over time, they become habits. But let me tell you this, just because a thought comes to your mind doesn't mean it's true. Not everything you think deserves your belief. Here's the problem with negative thoughts. They don't just stay thoughts. They influence how you feel, and those feelings dictate your actions. Let's say you wake up in the morning, and the first thing that crosses your mind is, I'm not good enough. What happens next? You feel defeated before the day even begins. You carry that weight into everything you do, your conversations, your work, your decisions. And here's the kicker. Because you're acting from a place of doubt, you're less likely to take risks, less likely to put yourself out there, and less likely to succeed. Negative thoughts create a cycle. They lead to negative emotions, which lead to negative actions, which then reinforce the original thought. It's like you're building a wall between yourself and your potential, brick by brick, with every limiting belief you hold on to. And the longer you let those thoughts run the show, the taller that wall gets. But here's the truth. That wall isn't permanent. It's not made of stone. It's made of habits. And habits can be changed. The first step is recognizing the harm these negative thoughts are doing to you. Take a moment right now and think about it. What are some of the things you've told yourself recently? Maybe it's something like, I'm not smart enough, or I'll never figure this out, or I always mess things up. These are the kinds of thoughts that keep you stuck. They keep you small. I want you to ask yourself something important. Would you ever say those things to someone you care about? Would you look at a friend or a family member and say, you're not good enough, or you'll never succeed? Of course not. So why is it okay to talk to yourself that way? Why do we give ourselves less compassion, less encouragement, and less belief than we give to others? You've got to stop letting those negative thoughts run your life. But how do you do that? How do you break free from the cycle? It starts with awareness. You can't change what you're not aware of. For the next few days, I want you to pay attention to your thoughts. Notice when you're being hard on yourself. Notice when you're doubting your abilities or criticizing yourself unnecessarily. And when you catch one of those thoughts, don't just brush it off. Stop and challenge it. Let me give you an example. Let's say you catch yourself thinking, I can't do this. Instead of letting that thought sit there, I want you to ask yourself, is that really true, or is that just fear talking? Most of the time, it's fear. And fear isn't a fact. It's just a feeling. Once you challenge that thought, you can replace it with something better, something that builds you up instead of tearing you down. You can say, this is hard, but I'm capable. Or, I don't know how to do this yet, but I'm willing to learn. You see, breaking free from negative thoughts isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about being honest with yourself while still choosing to believe in your potential. It's about recognizing that just because something is hard doesn't mean it's impossible. Now let me tell you something important. This process takes time. You didn't develop the habit of negative thinking overnight. And you're not going to change it overnight either. But every time you catch a negative thought and replace it with something constructive, you're taking a step in the right direction. You're rewiring your brain. You're building a new habit. And here's the thing, you're not just changing your thoughts. You're changing your entire experience of life. When you stop letting negativity dominate your mind, you'll notice something incredible. You'll feel lighter. You'll have more energy. You'll start to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. And most importantly, you'll start to believe in yourself again. So here's what I want you to do. Start listening to your inner voice. Start catching those negative thoughts before they take root. Challenge them. Replace them. And remember, you are the one in control of your mind, not the other way around. Negative thoughts only have as much power as you give them. Take that power back. Choose to speak to yourself in a way that uplifts, encourages, and inspires you. Because the way you think about yourself shapes everything. And once you change the way you think, you change your life. Number 3, commit to positive language. Now that we've talked about recognizing the harm of negative thoughts, let's move on to something equally important, committing to positive language. And I mean really committing to it, not just for a moment, not just when it feels easy, but as a daily practice. You see, positive language isn't just about sounding nice or optimistic. It's about creating a foundation for how you think, how you feel, and how you live. The words you speak to yourself and the words you speak to others have power. They shape your reality. Think about it. When you tell yourself, I'm doing my best, how does that feel compared to saying, I can't do anything right? Those words create entirely different emotions, don't they? And those emotions affect your actions. Here's what I want you to understand. The language you use is a reflection of what you believe, but it's also a tool to shape what you believe. If you want to change your mindset, if you want to start seeing yourself and your life differently, you've got to start by changing the words you use. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Jim, isn't positive language just about being overly cheerful or pretending everything's fine when it's not? Absolutely not. I'm not asking you to lie to yourself or ignore reality. What I'm asking you to do is to take control of the narrative in your mind. It's not about ignoring challenges. It's about choosing to face them with the right mindset. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're facing a tough situation. Maybe your finances aren't where you want them to be. Or maybe you're struggling to build a habit or reach a goal. Now, you could say to yourself, this is impossible. I'll never get out of this. Or you could say, this is tough, but I'm going to figure it out. Both statements acknowledge the difficulty, but only one of them opens the door to solutions. Only one of them keeps you moving forward. That's the power of positive language. It keeps you in the game. It keeps you from giving up. It keeps you focused on what's possible instead of what's wrong. But here's the thing, committing to positive language isn't just about what you say when things are hard. It's about making it a daily habit. It's about being intentional with the words you use, even in the small moments. For instance, instead of saying, I have to go to work, try saying, I get to go to work. Instead of saying, I'm stuck in traffic, say, I have some extra time to think or listen to something inspiring. These little shifts might seem insignificant, but over time they add up. They change the way you experience your day. One of the best ways to commit to positive language is to start your day with it. The first words you say to yourself in the morning set the tone for everything that follows. So when you wake up, instead of thinking, I'm so tired or I don't want to do this today, try saying, today is a new opportunity. I'm ready to make the most of it. It might feel strange at first, but I promise you it works. Another key part of this is how you talk to yourself when things don't go as planned. Let's be honest. Life is full of setbacks. You'll make mistakes. You'll face challenges. But when those moments happen, how you respond matters. Instead of beating yourself up with words like, I'm such a failure, say, I made a mistake, but I'm learning from it. Instead of saying, I'll never get it right, say, I'm improving every day. These small shifts in language create a huge shift in how you see yourself and your ability to grow. Now, I want to be clear. This isn't about perfection. You're not going to get it right all the time, and that's okay. There will be days when negative thoughts creep in, and you'll catch yourself saying something that doesn't align with the positive language you're working on. But here's the beauty of it. Every moment is an opportunity to start fresh. If you catch yourself being negative, don't dwell on it. Just pause, take a deep breath, and choose a better way to speak. Committing to positive language also means being mindful of the words you use with others. Have you ever noticed how the tone of a conversation can shift based on the words someone uses? If you approach people with kindness, encouragement, and positivity, they'll respond differently than if you approach them with criticism or negativity. The same is true for how you talk about your life. When you speak about your dreams, your goals, or your challenges, use words that reflect hope and determination, not fear or doubt. You see, positive language isn't just about what's happening in your mind. It's about creating an environment that supports your growth. It's about surrounding yourself with words, thoughts, and actions that push you toward the life you want. So here's my challenge for you. For the next 3 days, pay attention to your language. Listen to the words you use with yourself and with others. And when you catch yourself being negative, stop and reframe it. Replace it with something positive, something that helps instead of hurts. You're going to notice a difference. You'll feel lighter, you'll feel more in control, and you'll start to see possibilities where you once saw problems. That's the power of committing to positive language. And remember this, it's not just about what you say, it's about what you believe. Positive language helps you build belief in yourself, in your potential, and in your ability to create a better future. So start today. Start speaking to yourself in a way that reflects the person you want to become. Because once you change your words, you start to change your life. Number 4, create a powerful affirmation routine. Words have the ability to shape your reality. When you speak, you're not just saying words, you're planting seeds. The question is, what kind of seeds are you planting? Are you planting thoughts of growth, strength, and confidence? Or are you letting doubt and negativity take root? This is where affirmations come in. Affirmations are not just words you repeat mindlessly. They are declarations of who you are and who you want to become. Now let me make this clear. An affirmation routine isn't about wishful thinking. It's not about saying I'm rich, while ignoring the fact that you have work to do to get there. It's about aligning your words with your goals, so you're speaking to the version of yourself you're working to build. It's about reminding yourself of your potential and keeping your focus on what matters. When you wake up in the morning, your mind is like a blank canvas. What you tell yourself in those first few moments sets the tone for the rest of the day. Most people don't even think about it. They roll out of bed, check their phones, and let the world tell them how to feel. But not you. You're here because you want to take control of your mindset. So here's what I want you to do. The moment you wake up, before you even check your phone, take a moment to speak to yourself. Start with something simple, something that sets the right tone. You could say, today, I'm focused. Today, I'm strong. Today, I'm ready to take on anything that comes my way. These are not just empty words. When you say them, I want you to feel them. I want you to believe them. Now, you might be thinking, Jim, how do I believe something if it doesn't feel true yet? That's a great question. Here's the answer. Belief isn't something that happens overnight. It's something you build over time. When you repeat positive affirmations consistently, you're training your mind to focus on what's possible. You're creating new thought patterns. And over time, those patterns become beliefs. Think of it like this. If you tell yourself every day, I'm not good enough, eventually you'll believe it. But the same is true for positive affirmations. If you tell yourself every day, I am capable, I am improving, or I am worthy of success, those words will start to feel more and more true. And as your belief grows, so does your ability to take action. A powerful affirmation routine isn't just about the words you say, it's about how you say them. Don't just mumble them under your breath. Say them with conviction. Say them as if you're speaking to your best friend or someone you deeply care about. Stand tall, look yourself in the mirror, and speak your affirmations like you mean them. Your body language matters. Your tone matters. When you speak with confidence, your brain listens differently. Here's another tip. Tie your affirmations to your goals. If you're working on your health, say something like, I am disciplined, and make choices that honor my body. If you're building a career, try, I am focused and bring value to everything I do. The more specific your affirmations are to your goals, the more powerful they become. But don't stop there. Affirmations aren't just for the morning. Use them throughout the day. When you face a challenge, remind yourself, I can handle this. When you're feeling tired or unmotivated, tell yourself, I am strong, I am resilient. These little moments of encouragement keep you grounded and focused, no matter what's happening around you. You might be wondering, how long does it take to see results? The answer is different for everyone. Some people notice a shift within days, while for others, it takes weeks or even months. But here's what I can promise you. If you stay consistent, you will see a change. You'll start to notice that the voice in your head, the one that used to criticize and doubt you, begins to sound more encouraging, more supportive. You'll feel more confident, more motivated, and more in control of your life. Let me tell you something else. Affirmations are not just about you. When you start to change the way you speak to yourself, it affects how you show up in the world. People will notice your confidence, they'll notice your energy, and that energy is contagious. When you believe in yourself, you inspire others to do the same. So let's make this a priority. Create your affirmations. Write them down. Keep them somewhere you'll see them every day, on your mirror, your desk, or even your phone. And commit to saying them, not just once or twice, but consistently, day after day. Remember this, you are in control of the story you tell yourself. If you don't like the story you've been living, change it. Start telling yourself a new one, a story of growth, strength, and success. Because the words you speak to yourself today will shape the person you become tomorrow. Number 5, the 3-day challenge. What to say. How often do you truly pay attention to the words you're speaking to yourself? I mean, really listen to that little voice in your head. If you're like most people, the answer is probably not very often. But let me tell you, those words, those thoughts, they shape everything. They determine how you see the world, how you see yourself, and ultimately, what you do with your life. And if you're serious about making a change, here's what I want you to do. For the next 3 days, I want you to commit to talking to yourself in a way that builds you up, not tears you down. Just 3 days. Can you do that? Of course you can. Now, let me tell you why this is important. Most of us don't even realize how much negativity we carry around in our minds. We've gotten so used to it, it feels normal. You make a mistake, and the first thing you tell yourself is, I'm so stupid. You try something new, and before you even get started, you think, I'll probably mess this up. And the worst part is, you believe it. Those words become your reality. But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be that way. You have the power to change the way you talk to yourself. And when you do, everything changes. So here's how the challenge works. For the next 3 days, I want you to speak to yourself like you would to someone you love. Think about that for a moment. If your best friend came to you and said, I made a mistake, would you say, well, you're just a failure? Of course not. You'd say something encouraging, something supportive. You'd remind them of their strengths, their potential, and their ability to bounce back. That's exactly how I want you to speak to yourself. Start each day with intention. The moment you wake up, set the tone with positive, uplifting words. You might say, today is a fresh start. I'm ready to make it a great day. Or I am capable. I am strong. I am enough. The exact words don't matter as much as the feeling behind them. Say something that inspires you, something that reminds you of your potential. Throughout the day, I want you to pay attention to your inner dialogue. When you catch yourself thinking something negative, stop and replace it with something positive. For example, if you catch yourself saying, I'll never figure this out, pause and say, I'm learning. I'll figure it out step by step. If you think I'm not good at this, replace it with, I'm improving every day. At first, it might feel a little strange, maybe even forced. That's okay. Change always feels a little uncomfortable at first, but stick with it. The more you do it, the more natural it will feel. And don't just stop at correcting the negative. Go out of your way to acknowledge the positive. When you accomplish something, no matter how small, celebrate it. Tell yourself, I'm proud of the progress I'm making. When you face a challenge and push through it, say, I'm stronger than I thought. These little moments of encouragement add up. They build confidence. They build momentum. You might be wondering, why 3 days? Why not just 1 day? Or a week? Or a month? Here's why. 3 days is long enough to make an impact, but short enough that it feels doable. It's a focused, intentional effort to reset your mindset. Think of it as a jump start, a way to break out of old habits and start building new ones. And once you see the difference it makes in just 3 days, you'll want to keep going. Now, let's talk about what you can expect. At first, you might be surprised by how often negative thoughts pop up. You might catch yourself thinking, I'm not good enough, or I can't do this, more often than you realized. Don't get discouraged. The fact that you're noticing these thoughts is a sign of progress. Awareness is the first step to change. As you replace those negative thoughts with positive ones, you'll start to feel a shift. It might be subtle at first, a little more confidence, a little less doubt, But over time, that shift grows. You'll start to notice that you feel lighter, more optimistic. Challenges that used to feel overwhelming will start to feel manageable. You'll approach your goals with a sense of possibility instead of fear. And here's the real magic. When you start talking to yourself differently, you start showing up differently. You take more risks. You push yourself a little harder. You stay a little more focused. And people will notice. They'll see the change in your energy, your attitude, and your results. But let me tell you something even more important. This challenge isn't just about what happens in these 3 days. It's about what happens after. It's about proving to yourself that you have the power to change your mindset. And once you know that, there's no limit to what you can do. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 3 days, commit to talking to yourself in a way that reflects your potential, your strength, and your worth. Be kind to yourself. Be encouraging. Be your own biggest supporter. And at the end of those 3 days, take a moment to reflect. Notice how you feel. Notice what's changed. And then ask yourself this: if 3 days can make this much of a difference, what could a week do? What could a month do? What could a lifetime of positive self-talk do? The way you talk to yourself matters. It shapes how you see yourself, how you see the world, and what you believe is possible. So start now. Start today. And remember, you're not just changing the way you talk, you're changing the way you live. Number 6, practice gratitude in your self-talk. We're talking about gratitude today, but not in the way most people think about it. You see, gratitude isn't just about saying thank you or writing a few things down in a journal, though that's a great start. Gratitude is about rewiring how you speak to yourself and how you experience your life. It's about building a perspective that shifts your entire mindset. And for the next 3 days, I want you to practice weaving gratitude into your self-talk. Trust me, this small change can make a huge impact. Now let's think about this for a moment. How often do you acknowledge what's going well in your life? How often do you give yourself credit for the things you've achieved or for the progress you've made? If you're like most people, probably not as often as you should. It's so easy to focus on what's wrong, what's missing, what you still have to fix. But when you focus on what's wrong, guess what happens? You feel stuck. You feel overwhelmed. And those feelings, they show up in how you talk to yourself. But here's the truth. There's always something to be grateful for. Even on the toughest days, there's something. Maybe it's the fact that you woke up this morning. Maybe it's the roof over your head, the people who support you, or even the fact that you're here listening to this because you're serious about becoming the best version of yourself. Gratitude isn't about ignoring the challenges or pretending everything's perfect. It's about choosing to focus on what's good, even when life feels tough. Here's how I want you to approach this for the next 3 days. Every time you catch yourself thinking something negative, pause, take a deep breath, and instead of letting that negative thought spiral, shift your focus to gratitude. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're frustrated because you're stuck in traffic. It's easy to let that frustration take over, right? But instead, try saying to yourself, I'm grateful I have a car to drive. I'm grateful I have a job to go to. I'm grateful for this moment to slow down and breathe. It might feel a little strange at first, but trust me, it works. When you start practicing gratitude in your self-talk, you'll notice something powerful. Your energy shifts. Instead of feeling weighed down by frustration or negativity, you start to feel lighter, more hopeful. Gratitude has a way of changing your perspective. And when your perspective changes, your actions change too. You start showing up differently. You approach challenges with more resilience. You find solutions more easily because you're not stuck in a negative mindset. But let me tell you, this isn't just about shifting your energy in the moment. Practicing gratitude in your self-talk has long-term benefits too. The more you do it, the more it becomes a habit. And when gratitude becomes a habit, it transforms the way you see the world. You start noticing opportunities you might have overlooked. You start appreciating the little things that used to go unnoticed. And those little things, they add up. They create a sense of abundance, a sense of possibility that fuels your growth. Now I know what you might be thinking. Jim, this sounds simple, but what about the big challenges? How do I practice gratitude when life feels overwhelming? That's a great question, and here's my answer. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring the hard stuff. It doesn't mean pretending everything's okay when it's not. It means finding something, anything, to anchor yourself in the midst of the storm. Maybe it's the lesson you're learning through the challenge. Maybe it's the strength you're building. Maybe it's the people who are supporting you along the way. Gratitude doesn't erase the pain, but it gives you a foundation to stand on. For the next 3 days, I want you to commit to this practice. Start your day with gratitude. Before you even get out of bed, take a moment to think about 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be big. Maybe it's the sound of birds outside your window, the warmth of your blanket, or the opportunity to start fresh today. Whatever it is, let yourself feel it. Let that gratitude set the tone for your day. Throughout the day, pay attention to your self-talk. When you catch yourself complaining or focusing on what's wrong, shift to gratitude. Remind yourself of what's good. And at the end of the day, take a moment to reflect. Think about what went well, what you're proud of, and what you're grateful for. Let that gratitude be the last thing on your mind as you drift off to sleep. Here's the thing. Gratitude isn't just a nice idea. It's a powerful tool. It has the ability to change your mood, your mindset, and your life. But like any tool, it only works if you use it. So don't just listen to this and think, that sounds nice. Put it into practice. Try it for 3 days. Really commit to it. And at the end of those 3 days, take a moment to notice the difference. Notice how you feel. Notice how your energy has shifted. Notice how the way you talk to yourself has started to change. Let me leave you with this. Life isn't about waiting for everything to be perfect. It's about finding the good in the middle of the mess. It's about appreciating the journey, even when it's hard. And when you can do that, when you can approach life with gratitude, you'll find that it becomes easier to move forward, to grow, and to create the life you want. So are you ready to take the challenge? 3 days of practicing gratitude in your self-talk. 3 days of shifting your focus to what's good. 3 days of building a habit that can change your life. You can do this. And when you do, you'll see just how powerful gratitude can be. Let's get started. Number 7, monitor your inner voice. Let's talk about something that's so important, yet so often overlooked. Your inner voice. That little voice in your head that talks to you all day long. It's always there, commenting on what you're doing, judging your decisions, and even predicting how things will turn out. Here's the thing. Most people don't pay enough attention to it. They let it run on autopilot, not realizing how much it influences their mood, their confidence, and their actions. But if you're serious about growth, about becoming the best version of yourself, then you need to start monitoring that inner voice. Let me put it this way. If someone stood next to you all day and said the things your inner voice says, how would you feel? Would you feel encouraged, supported, and uplifted? Or would you feel drained, criticized, and defeated? For most people, that voice isn't very kind. It's full of self-doubt, negativity, and fear. And the worst part is, they don't even notice it. They've gotten so used to it, they just accept it as normal. But let me tell you something. It's not normal, and it's not helpful. Your inner voice can be your biggest cheerleader or your worst enemy. And the difference comes down to awareness. You have to start paying attention to what it's saying. You have to listen closely, because if you're not aware of it, you can't change it. So for the next 3 days, I want you to really tune in. Pay attention to the words you're saying to yourself, especially in moments of challenge or stress. Notice the tone, the language, the patterns. Are you lifting yourself up, or are you tearing yourself down? Let me give you an example. Imagine you're working on something important, and you make a mistake. What's the first thing that comes to mind? For a lot of people, it's something like, I can't believe I messed that up. I'm so stupid. But here's the truth. That kind of talk doesn't help. It doesn't fix the mistake. It doesn't make you better. All it does is chip away at your confidence and your belief in yourself. Now imagine if instead you said, okay, I made a mistake. What can I learn from this? How can I do better next time? Do you see the difference? One response shuts you down. The other keeps you moving forward. But catching those moments takes practice. It's not something you can change overnight, and that's okay. The first step is simply to notice. Notice when your inner voice is being negative or critical. Notice the patterns. Maybe it's when you're trying something new. Maybe it's when you're facing a challenge. Or maybe it's just random, popping up out of nowhere to remind you of something you did wrong weeks or even years ago. Whatever it is, just notice it. Don't judge it, and don't try to fight it. Just become aware of it. Once you've started noticing, The next step is to question it. When your inner voice says something negative, ask yourself, is this true? Is this helpful? Is this how I would talk to a friend? If the answer is no, then it's time to challenge that thought. Replace it with something more constructive, something that helps you move forward instead of holding you back. This isn't about ignoring the truth or pretending everything's perfect. It's about choosing a perspective that serves you. Let's talk about why this matters so much. Your inner voice doesn't just stay in your head. It affects how you feel, and how you feel affects what you do. If your inner voice is constantly telling you that you're not good enough, you're going to feel discouraged. And when you're discouraged, you're less likely to take action. But when your inner voice is encouraging and supportive, you feel confident. And that confidence leads to action. It's a ripple effect. Change your inner voice, and you change everything. Now, I know what you're thinking. Jim, this sounds simple, but it's not easy. And you're right. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Think about it like this. You've spent years, maybe even decades, letting that inner voice run on autopilot. It's built up habits, patterns, ways of thinking that feel automatic. Changing that takes effort. It takes commitment. But the good news is, you don't have to do it all at once. You just have to start. And that's what this 3-day challenge is all about. Here's what I want you to do. For the next 3 days, commit to monitoring your inner voice. Every time you catch yourself thinking something negative, pause. Take a deep breath, and then ask yourself, is this the kind of talk that helps me grow? Is this the kind of talk I deserve? If the answer is no, replace it with something better. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be profound. It just has to be better. If your inner voice says, I can't do this, replace it with, I'm learning and I'll figure it out. If it says, I'm not good enough, replace it with, I'm improving every day. The point is to break the pattern and create a new one. As you do this, you'll start to notice a shift. It might be subtle at first. You might feel a little lighter, a little more hopeful, but over time that shift will grow. You'll start to feel more confident. You'll start to take more action. And the more you do that, the more momentum you'll build. It's a cycle, and it all starts with your inner voice. Let me leave you with this. You spend more time with yourself than with anyone else in the world. Your inner voice is your constant companion. So doesn't it make sense to make it a positive one? Doesn't it make sense to speak to yourself with the same kindness, encouragement, and support that you'd offer to someone you care about? You deserve that. You're worth that. And the best part is, it's something you can start right now. So for the next 3 days, pay attention. Listen to your inner voice. Question it. Challenge it. And when you catch it being negative, replace it with something better. It's a small change, but it can lead to a big transformation. You have the power to shape your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. And it all starts with the way you talk to yourself. Let's make it a voice that lifts you up, not one that holds you back. You've got this. Let's get to work. Number 8, reinforce the positive with actions. Let's talk about something that takes this whole self-talk journey to the next level. Actions. You see, it's not enough to just speak to yourself positively or fill your mind with affirmations. That's the foundation, yes. But what gives those words power is the actions that back them up. The truth is, what you do reinforces what you say to yourself, and what you say to yourself influences what you do. It's a cycle, and it works both ways. If you want to truly transform your mindset and your life, you need to align your actions with the positive self-talk you're practicing. Now let's make this practical, because I'm not here to just tell you to do more or take action without helping you understand how. Let's say you're working on building confidence. You've started talking to yourself in a more encouraging way, telling yourself things like, I am capable, or I can figure this out. That's great, but now you need to prove it to yourself. Confidence doesn't just come from words, it comes from evidence. And the evidence comes from taking action, even if it's small. For instance, let's say there's something you've been putting off because it feels intimidating. Maybe it's having a difficult conversation, starting a new project, or even going to the gym for the first time in years. Your old self-talk might have been holding you back, saying things like, what if I mess up? What if I fail? What will people think? But now, with your new self-talk, you're saying, I can handle this. I'm learning, and growing. That's a great start. But the next step is to take a small action that supports that belief. Maybe it's sending a quick email to initiate the conversation. Maybe it's spending just 10 minutes on that project. Maybe it's walking into the gym, even if all you do is look around. The action doesn't have to be huge. It just has to move you forward. And here's the thing. When you take action, no matter how small, you start to build trust with yourself. You're sending a message to your brain that says, I follow through, I show up, I'm capable of doing hard things. That trust is what builds real confidence. It's what transforms those positive words from something you're just saying to something you truly believe. And the more you believe it, the more you'll act on it. It's a powerful feedback loop. But let's not sugarcoat it. Taking action isn't always easy, especially if you've been stuck in a pattern of negative self-talk for a long time. You might feel resistance. You might feel fear. That's normal. It's your brain trying to keep you in your comfort zone. But here's what I want you to remember. Growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. It happens when you push past that resistance, even if it's just a little bit at a time. And every time you do, you're teaching yourself that you're stronger than your doubts, that you're capable of more than you think. Let's talk about how this plays out in real life. Think about a goal you've set for yourself. Maybe it's something big, like starting your own business. Or maybe it's something smaller, like improving your health. Whatever it is, ask yourself this. Are your actions aligning with your self-talk? If you're telling yourself, I'm committed to this goal, but your actions aren't reflecting that, then there's a disconnect. And that disconnect can create frustration, doubt, and even more negative self-talk. But when your actions and your self-talk are in sync, that's when the magic happens. That's when you start to see real progress. Let's take the example of improving your health. If you're telling yourself, I'm taking better care of myself, but you're still skipping meals, staying up late, and avoiding exercise, then your actions are contradicting your words. But if you start making small changes, like drinking more water, going to bed earlier, or taking a 10-minute walk each day, those actions reinforce your positive self-talk. They create momentum, and momentum is what makes it easier to keep going, to take the next step, and the next. Another important point to remember is that actions don't always have to be about achieving something big. Sometimes the most powerful actions are the ones that show kindness and care toward yourself. Maybe it's taking a break when you're feeling overwhelmed. Maybe it's saying no to something that doesn't align with your values. Maybe it's giving yourself permission to rest without feeling guilty. These actions might seem small, but they send a powerful message to your inner self. I value myself. I respect my needs. I'm worthy of care and attention. And that message is just as important as any goal you're working toward. Let's not forget the role of consistency in all of this. One action here and there isn't going to create lasting change. It's about showing up for yourself every day, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it. It's about making those small positive actions a habit. Because habits are what shape your life. They're what turn your self-talk into something that feels natural and automatic. And the more consistent you are, the stronger that habit becomes. Now let's address something that might come up as you're working on this setbacks. Because let's face it, no one gets it right all the time. There will be days when your self-talk slips back into old patterns, or when you don't follow through on the actions you planned. And that's okay. It's not about being perfect. It's about being persistent. When you face a setback, don't let it derail you. Instead, use it as an opportunity to learn. Ask yourself, what happened? What can I do differently next time? And then get back on track. Remember, it's not the setback that defines you. It's how you respond to it. As you continue this journey, I want you to keep one thing in mind. You are capable of change. No matter how long you've been stuck in a negative cycle, no matter how many times you've tried and fallen short, you have the power to create a new story for yourself. And that story starts with your self-talk and the actions you take to back it up. It starts with small steps, consistent effort, and a belief in your ability to grow. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 3 days, focus on aligning your actions with your positive self-talk. Pay attention to the words you're saying to yourself and ask yourself, what action can I take to support this? Then take that action no matter how small. It could be as simple as making your bed in the morning to start your day with a win, or as big as finally tackling that project you've been putting off. Whatever it is, do it with intention. Do it with the knowledge that every small step is moving you closer to the person you want to become. You have the power to change your life, and it starts with the way you talk to yourself and the actions you take every day. So let's make those actions count. Let's make them a reflection of the belief, the strength, and the potential that already exist within you. You've got this. Let's get to work. Number 9, the emotional shift you'll feel. What happens when you've been speaking to yourself in a positive, empowering way for a while? You start to feel something shift inside you, don't you? It's not dramatic at first, it's subtle. It might be a sense of calm, a spark of hope, or a moment where you catch yourself thinking, maybe I really can do this. That's the emotional shift we're aiming for. And I'll tell you, it's one of the most rewarding parts of this journey. Because once you start to feel it, you realize how much control you have over your emotional state, your perspective, and ultimately your life. Think about how often we let our emotions control us. Someone says something rude, and suddenly we're in a bad mood all day. We hit a roadblock in our plans, and we spiral into frustration or self-doubt. It's so easy to let those external factors dictate how we feel. But what we're doing here, this practice of changing the way we talk to ourselves, is about flipping the script. It's about taking back control and deciding how we want to feel, regardless of what's happening around us. That's a powerful thing. When you start talking to yourself in a positive, uplifting way, you're creating a foundation for better emotions to grow. Think of it like planting seeds. Each positive word, each kind thought you have toward yourself is a seed you're planting in your mind. And with consistency, those seeds start to take root. They grow into feelings of confidence, gratitude, and resilience. And before you know it, those feelings become your new normal. One of the first emotional shifts you'll notice is a sense of self-compassion. For a lot of us, this is a big one, because we're so used to being hard on ourselves. We beat ourselves up over mistakes, hold on to regrets, and set impossibly high standards. But when you start talking to yourself like you would a friend, with kindness, understanding, and encouragement, you begin to soften. You realize it's okay to be human, to have flaws, to stumble along the way. That self-compassion doesn't just make you feel better. It also gives you the courage to keep going, to keep trying, because you're no longer afraid of failing. Another shift you'll experience is a sense of hope. You might not even realize how much negativity has been weighing you down until you start to replace it with positive self-talk. Suddenly things don't feel so impossible. That big goal you've been dreaming about doesn't seem so far out of reach. You start to believe, truly believe, that things can get better. That hope is like a light in the dark. It doesn't mean you won't face challenges, but it does mean you'll have the strength to face them head on. Let's talk about energy, because that's another big change you'll notice. Negative self-talk is exhausting. It drains your energy, your motivation, your joy. It's like carrying around a heavy backpack full of rocks all day. But when you shift to positive self-talk, it's like taking that backpack off. You feel lighter, freer, more energized. And that energy spills over into everything you do. You show up for your goals with more enthusiasm. You connect with people more openly. You start to enjoy life in a way you maybe haven't in a long time. And then there's the confidence. This is one of the most transformative shifts, because confidence changes how you see yourself and how you show up in the world. When you talk to yourself in a way that builds you up instead of tearing you down, you start to trust yourself more. You trust your abilities, your decisions, your resilience. And that trust is what allows you to step outside your comfort zone, to take risks, to go after the things you really want. Confidence isn't about being fearless. It's about believing in yourself enough to take action despite the fear. What's amazing is how these emotional shifts don't just affect you. They affect the people around you too. When you're more compassionate toward yourself, you become more compassionate toward others. When you're hopeful and energized, you inspire the people in your life to feel the same. Your relationships improve. Your interactions become more positive. It's like a ripple effect, and it all starts with the way you talk to yourself. Now I want to be clear. This isn't about ignoring the hard stuff or pretending everything is perfect. Life is still going to throw challenges your way. You're still going to have tough days, but when you've been practicing positive self-talk, those challenges don't feel as overwhelming. You're better equipped to handle them because you're coming from a place of strength and self-belief. You know that whatever happens, you have the tools to get through it. That's the emotional resilience we're building here. This shift also changes how you handle setbacks. Instead of seeing them as failures, You start to see them as opportunities to learn and grow. You stop defining yourself by your mistakes and start defining yourself by how you respond to them. That's a huge mindset change, and it makes all the difference in how you approach your goals in your life. So how do you keep this emotional shift going? It comes down to consistency. The more you practice positive self-talk, the more natural it becomes. It might feel awkward or forced at first, especially if you're used to being critical of yourself. But stick with it. Over time, those positive words will start to feel authentic. They'll become your default way of thinking. And as they do, those emotional shifts will deepen and grow. I want you to take a moment and imagine how it will feel when this shift becomes your new normal. Picture yourself waking up in the morning and feeling excited about the day ahead. Picture yourself facing a challenge and thinking, I can handle this. Picture yourself looking in the mirror and feeling proud of who you are. That's what we're working toward. That's the life you're creating with every positive word you say to yourself. Remember, this isn't about being perfect. It's about progress. It's about showing up for yourself every day and doing the work, even when it's hard. It's about being patient with yourself and celebrating every small win along the way. And it's about trusting that those small steps, those small shifts will add up to something big. You have the power to change the way you feel, the way you think, and the way you live. It all starts with the way you talk to yourself. So keep planting those seeds. Keep watering them with consistency and care. And watch as they grow into something beautiful. You've got this. Let's keep going. Number 10, reflect on the change. When you've been practicing this positive self-talk for a few days, you'll notice something incredible happening. You'll begin to reflect on the change you've gone through. And I'm not talking about a dramatic overnight transformation, but more of a quiet, steady evolution. One day you'll realize that you're not the same person you were before you started this journey. Your mindset has shifted. Your attitude has changed. You feel different, and it shows in everything you do. This is a powerful moment, because it's when you start to truly understand how much power you have over your own life. You realize that it's not just about what happens to you, it's about how you respond to what happens. That's the difference between being a passive passenger in your own life and being the one who takes the wheel and drives. You've been the one driving this whole time, and now you're starting to see how far you've come. And here's the amazing part. When you take a moment to reflect on how much you've grown, you see all the little steps you took that led to this place. The small changes you made in your self-talk have snowballed into something much bigger. Maybe you've become more patient with yourself. Maybe you've started to believe that you can actually achieve your goals, no matter how big they seem. Maybe you've even noticed that the people around you are responding to you differently because of the shift in your energy. It's all happening because of the simple act of talking to yourself in a positive, empowering way. It's easy to underestimate the power of our own words. We get caught up in the day-to-day grind, and we think that our thoughts don't really make a difference. But over time, those thoughts shape our reality. Your inner voice is powerful. It has the ability to create change, and you've just begun to tap into that power. As you reflect on the changes you're seeing in yourself, I want you to take a moment and acknowledge just how far you've come. Don't rush through this. Really take it in. You've been doing the work. You've been speaking to yourself with kindness, with encouragement, and with belief. That's not easy. It takes effort. It takes intention, and it's paying off. When you start to recognize the change, you begin to build even more momentum. You're proving to yourself that this process works. You're showing yourself that you are capable of changing your mindset, your emotions, and ultimately your life. Here's the thing I want you to remember. Reflection is key to growth. When you reflect on where you've been, it helps you understand where you're going. It gives you a clearer sense of purpose and direction. Reflection helps you see how far you've come and how much more you're capable of. It fuels your belief in yourself, which is the most powerful force you can have in your life. The more you believe in yourself, the more you can accomplish. But this is just the beginning. The shift you're experiencing right now is real, but the key is to keep going. This is where people often stop. They feel the change, they see the results, and then they think, I've made it, I'm good now. But true growth isn't about one big leap forward. It's about consistent, small steps over time. What you've experienced in these past few days is a glimpse into your potential. Now it's time to keep that momentum going. Because once you see that change, once you start to believe in your own power, there's no limit to what you can achieve. You're building a new way of thinking, and that's going to affect every part of your life. As you continue to talk to yourself with love, encouragement, and positivity, your life will start to reflect that. Your actions will align with your thoughts, and your thoughts will align with your actions. This is how you build a life of consistency, of progress, and of success. It's not magic, it's not something that happens overnight, but it's real, and it's within your reach. Take a moment to think about where you were before you started this 3-day journey. How did you talk to yourself back then? How did you feel about your goals, your potential, your worth? Now look at where you are today. Can you see the change? Can you feel the shift in your mindset? Can you see how your confidence is growing? How your self-belief is strengthening? The beauty of this process is that it doesn't have to stop here. You've already seen the change that's possible with just a few days of positive self-talk. And now you get to decide what happens next. Will you continue this journey of growth and self-improvement? Will you keep speaking to yourself with kindness and belief, even when things get tough? Will you keep building on the progress you've made? I believe you will, because you've already proven that you have the power to change. You've already proven that you can show up for yourself, even when it's hard. And as you reflect on where you are now, I want you to recognize that the person you are becoming is someone who is unstoppable. You have the tools, the mindset, and the drive to create the life you've always dreamed of. It all starts with the way you talk to yourself. And as you continue to practice this, you'll realize that there's nothing you can't do. So as you wrap up these 3 days, take a moment to really appreciate the change you've made. Be proud of yourself, but don't stop here. Keep going, keep growing, because you've just scratched the surface of what's possible. The best is yet to come, and I'm excited to see where this journey takes you. Keep believing in yourself, keep taking action, and keep reflecting on your progress. You've got this, and your future self is already cheering you on.